You're listening to the final recording of Marcus Chen, a Wasteland settler who watched his entire community die one soul at a time. In this confession, you'll discover why most settlements in the Fallout universe fail, not from nuclear fire or super mutant attacks, but from the slow, grinding horror of trying to maintain hope in a world designed to crush it. Bitter Springs thought they could build something normal, grow crops, raise families, create a future. But the Wasteland had other plans, and Marcus recorded every horrifying detail as his community was torn apart by raiders, disease, the Brotherhood, the Enclave, and finally, by each other. If you're hearing this, then you found what's left of Bitter Springs settlement. Maybe you're a scavenger, picking through our bones for scrap. Maybe you're another fool thinking, you can make it work where we failed. Either way, you deserve to know what really happens when people try to build something normal in this godforsaken wasteland. My name was Marcus Chen. Was. Because by the time you hear this, I'll be gone. One way or another. I've been recording these holotapes for 3 weeks now, hiding them in the old water tower where the radiation keeps most people away. Someone needs to know. Someone needs to understand that the wasteland doesn't just kill you with bullets or claws or radiation. It kills you slowly, methodically, by letting you believe you can beat it. I came to Bitter Springs 7 years ago with 43 other souls. We weren't vault dwellers emerging blinking into the sun. We weren't Brotherhood knights in power armor or NCR citizens with their flags and bureaucracy. We were just people, traders, farmers, mechanics, medics, who thought we could carve out something resembling a life from the poisoned earth. God, we were so naive. You learn things quickly as a settler. You learn that the soil isn't just dead, it's hostile. The first time I pushed a plow through what we thought was fertile ground near the creek, the blade hit something that screamed. Not metal on rock, an actual scream. Turned out the whole field was infested with mole rat burrows, and those bastards don't just eat your crops. They eat you if you're not careful. Lost 2 fingers teaching me that lesson. Sarah patched me up with a rusty needle and thread we'd scavenged from a destroyed hospital. No anesthetic except a bottle of rock gut whiskey that burned worse than the wound. But we adapted. That's what humans do, right? We always adapt. We learned to burn the fields first, smoke out the mole rats. We learned which patches of earth held less radiation. You can tell by the color of the morning dew if you look close enough. Slightly green means death. Clear means you might live another day. We built greenhouses from car windshields and scrap metal, growing mutt fruit and potatoes in controlled conditions. For a while, it almost worked. The thing about settlements is they're beacons. Light a fire in the darkness and everything sees it. The first raiders came on a Tuesday. I remember because we'd just finished our first real harvest. Enough food to last the winter if we rationed carefully. We'd even started fermenting some potatoes for alcohol, not to drink but to trade. That's when they hit us. Raiders aren't what you think. They're not all psychotic killers hopped up on Jet and Psycho, though God knows there's plenty of those. Some are just hungry, some are desperate. The group that hit us that Tuesday, they used to be settlers too, from a place called Sagebrush. Their wells went dry, crops failed, and desperation has a way of changing people. They came at dawn when the watch was changing, killed Tom and Maria before anyone could sound the alarm. You want to know what fighting raiders is really like? It's not heroic. It's hiding behind whatever cover you can find while bullets made, from scavenged scrap metal tear chunks out of the walls you spent months building. It's watching your neighbor, the one who helped you dig irrigation ditches just yesterday, bleed out in the dirt because nobody has stim packs to spare. It's making the choice between defending the food stores or saving the children huddled in the meeting hall. We chose the children, lost half our food that day. But here's what they don't tell you about raiders. Killing them doesn't make you the good guy. When we finally drove them off, we found a kid among their dead. Couldn't have been more than 14, clutching a pipe pistol that probably hadn't fired right in years. He had a picture in his pocket. Him and what looked like his little sister, smiling in front of a shack somewhere. We buried him with the others. No markers. Markers attract scavengers. After the raids, we got smarter, built walls from old, shipping containers and car frames, set up watch rotations, created kill zones where attackers would be funneled into overlapping fields of fire. We studied old military manuals we'd found in the ruins of a National Guard depot. Every settler learned to shoot, even the kids. Especially the kids. Childhood is a luxury the Wasteland doesn't afford. The diseases came next. You'd think radiation would be the killer, but it's the little things that get you. Infected cuts when there's no antibiotics. Water that looks clean but carries parasites that eat you from the inside. We lost 8 people to something we called the shakes. Probably some mutated form of typhoid. Their bodies would convulse so violently they'd break their own bones. We had to tie them down in the end, stuff rags in their mouths so their screams wouldn't attract predators. Dr. Hammond did what he could, but he was a veterinarian before the bombs, not equipped for this. I became the settlement's hunter because somebody had to. Every morning, I'd take my rifle, a pre-war 308. I'd repaired more times than I could count, and venture out into the waste. You learn to read the signs. Brahmin tracks mean traders might be passing through. Gecko spore means easy meat, if you're quick. But Deathclaw marks, you see those characteristic 3-clawed gouges in the rocks, you turn around and pray it didn't catch your scent. The first time I saw a Deathclaw up close, I understood why they're called that. 20 feet of muscle, scales, and claws, designed by whatever pre-war psychopath thought the Wasteland needed apex predators. It was feeding on a dead Brahmin, maybe 300 yards from our walls. I stayed downwind, hidden behind a cluster of burnt-out cars, and watched it tear through hide and bone like paper. Its eyes, intelligent, calculating, swept the horizon between bites. When it looked in my direction, I swear it saw me, even through the rusted metal. But it just continued eating. Professional courtesy between predators, maybe. Or maybe it was just full. You want to know what really broke us, though? It wasn't the raids or the disease or the predators. It was the hope. See? Hope makes you stupid in the Wasteland. Makes you take risks you shouldn't take. We got word from a trader that the NCR was expanding eastward, bringing law and order, clean water, medicine. They were only 50 miles away, he said. We could join them, become citizens, have protection. Half the settlement wanted to leave immediately, pack up everything and make the journey. The other half, including me, knew better. 50 miles in the Wasteland might as well be 500. But hope is contagious, and eventually, even I started to believe. We sent envoys, 5 of our best, including Sarah, the one who'd stitched up my hand all those years ago. They took our best weapons, our most valuable supplies to trade, and enough food for 2 weeks. They never came back. We found pieces of them 3 weeks later. The Wasteland has a way of returning things to you in the worst possible way. A trader brought Sarah's wedding ring, said he'd bought it off a scavenger near the old interstate. Tom's brother went looking and found their camp, or what was left of it. Super mutants, from the looks of it. The ground was still green from their blood. That's what FEV contamination does to soil. Makes it verdant and poisonous, like the Wasteland's sick joke about fertility. But we kept going. What else could we do? We planted new crops, repaired the walls, taught the newest arrivals how to survive. A ghoul named Harrison joined us. Pre-war soldier, still remembered things from before. He taught us about crop rotation, water table management, basic field medicine. Ghouls are like that, walking libraries of the old world, if you can get past the rot and the smell. Harrison didn't smell too bad, actually. Still had most of his nose. The thing about ghouls is they remember what we lost. Harrison would sit by the fire at night, talking about grocery stores where you could buy fresh fruit any day of the year. About hospitals where broken bones could be fixed in hours. About children playing in parks without checking for mines first. His memories were torture and comfort both. Reminders of what the world was and what it could never be again. Harrison lasted 4 months with us before he started going feral. That's the thing nobody tells you about ghouls. It's not if, it's when. Started with him forgetting people's names, then forgetting where he was. The final night, I found him gnawing on his own arm, chunks of irradiated flesh hanging from his mouth. He looked at me with those clouded eyes, and for just a second, I saw him in there. The real Harrison, trapped behind the decay. He whispered, "Please," before the madness took him again. I put a bullet between his eyes at dawn. We burned the body far from the settlement. Even in death, ferals are dangerous. Their meat can turn you if you're desperate enough to eat it, and desperation makes people do terrible things. After Harrison, we stopped taking in ghouls. I know how that sounds, but survival makes bigots of us all. Every group that came to our gates got the same scrutiny. Are they sick? Are they addicted to chems? Are they synths? That last one became an obsession after we heard rumors from travelers about the Institute, somewhere in the Commonwealth, replacing people with machines. How do you trust anyone when they could be a perfect copy sent to destroy you from within? We developed tests, stupid ones looking back. We'd cut newcomers, see if they bled right. Ask them questions about pre-war food, things only a real human would know, except we were all born after the bombs. None of us really knew either. Paranoia is another kind of radiation, invisible but deadly, seeping into everything until you can't remember what clean felt like. The second winter was when we learned about the real economy of the Wasteland. Caps. Those bottle caps we used. For currency, they're not just convenient, they're controlled. The big trading companies, the Crimson Caravan, the gun runners, they decide how many caps flow through a region. Cut off a settlement's trade routes, and you might as well put a bullet in everyone's head. Would be more merciful. We had something they wanted, though. Turns out, our little valley had a natural spring, deep underground, that the bombs hadn't touched. Pure water. Not that irradiated swill most folks drink, but actual clean water. Worth more than ammunition, more than food, more than life itself in the wasteland. The trader who discovered it, a woman named Cassidy with leather skin and eyes like a hawk, offered us a deal. Protection and supplies in exchange for water rights. We said no. We were still stupid enough to think independence meant something. They came back 2 weeks later with negotiators. 20 armed guards and a man in a suit so clean it hurt to look at. He explained very patiently how settlements that didn't cooperate tended to have accidents, raids at convenient times, supply lines that mysteriously dried up, wells that got poisoned in the night. He smiled the whole time, teeth too white, too straight. Definitely had access to pre-war dental care, or something close to it. The rich always do, even after the apocalypse. We gave them the water rights. What choice did we have? They took 60% of our output, left us just enough to survive. That's the Wasteland's economy. Everyone takes their cut until there's nothing left but scraps. And you're grateful for those scraps, because the alternative is death. But water attracted more than traders. It attracted the Brotherhood of Steel. I'll never forget the sound of their vertibird, like thunder that doesn't stop, getting louder until your teeth shake. They landed right in our town square, power armor gleaming in the sun like gods descending from heaven. Except gods usually don't point laser rifles at farmers. The paladin who stepped out looked like he was born in that armor. Probably was, knowing the Brotherhood. They breed soldiers like we bred Brahmin, selecting for loyalty and strength. He didn't ask about our water, he demanded it. Technology from the old world, he called it. Said the purification system we'd cobbled together from pre-war parts belonged to them by right. Everything from before belonged to them, in their eyes. You know what's funny? The Brotherhood thinks they're saving humanity by hoarding technology. They'll let a settlement die of radiation poisoning rather than share a single water purifier, because they think we're too stupid to use it properly. The Paladin looked at our irrigation system, pipes and pumps we'd spent years assembling, and called it primitive tampering with sacred knowledge. Sacred, like the old world was something to worship instead of the thing that killed us all. We couldn't fight them. You don't fight the Brotherhood unless you have a death wish. But we could negotiate. Turns out, Even zealots need food, and our greenhouses were producing more than just survival crops by then. We'd managed to grow actual vegetables, corn that wasn't entirely mutated, tomatoes that almost looked like the pictures in old books. The Brotherhood took our water purifier, but agreed to trade us a smaller, less efficient one in exchange for regular food shipments. It was like trading a car for a bicycle, but at least we could still move. The Brotherhood left us something else too: knowledge. One of their scribes, younger than the rest, took pity on us. Maybe she remembered being human before the indoctrination. She showed me how to read the radiation levels in water using a makeshift Geiger counter built from radio parts. Taught me the signs of FEV contamination in soil, the way it makes plants grow too fast, too wrong. She whispered about things. The Brotherhood had seen further north. Entire settlements turned to super mutants overnight. Children growing extra limbs from contaminated water tables. The Master is dead, she told me, but his legacy lives in every drop of water, every grain of soil. The forced evolutionary virus doesn't die. It waits. She was gone the next morning, and I never learned her name. The Brotherhood doesn't encourage personal connections with wastelanders. That knowledge saved us, though. 3 months later, we noticed the corn growing strange. Stalks twice as tall as they should be, kernels that pulsed with a faint green light. FEV contamination spreading through our eastern field. We burned it all, every last plant, and dug down 6 feet to remove the soil. Found the source, a cracked barrel, pre-war military marking, leaking into the groundwater. Inside were bones, human but wrong, twisted into shapes that hurt to look at. We sealed it in concrete and marked the spot with radiation symbols. Some things should stay buried. The children born after that were different. Not mutants, not exactly, but changed. Little Maya could sense radiation like some people sense rain coming. Timothy's wounds healed faster than they should. Emma never got sick, not once, even when plague swept through and took 11 others. Evolution in fast forward. The human genome scrambling to adapt to a world that wants us dead. We pretended not to notice. What else could we do? Cast out our own children? But other settlements weren't so accepting. Traders started whispering about tainted blood in Bitter Springs. The NCR patrol that used to swing by monthly stopped coming. Even raiders seemed to avoid us, like we were marked somehow. That's when the Enclave found us. You probably think the Enclave is gone, scattered after their defeats at the hands of the Chosen One and the Lone Wanderer. But ideas don't die as easily as people. The squad that arrived at our gates wore power armor painted black, no insignias, but I recognized the design. My grandfather had seen them during the oil rig days, before it all went to hell. Same walk, same way of looking at you like you're a rad roach that learned to talk. They didn't come for water or food, they came for the children. Genetic anomalies, their scientists called them. She had a scanner that clicked faster around our young ones, measuring something we couldn't see. Adaptive mutations, possible immunity factors. She spoke into a recorder, noting down everything like we weren't even there, like we were specimens in a lab. They offered us a choice that wasn't a choice. Give them 3 children for research, and they'd provide medicine, weapons, protection. Refuse, and... well, they didn't need to spell it out. The Enclave doesn't leave witnesses. We fought. God help us. We actually fought the Enclave. Not with guns, that would have been suicide. But we hid the children, scattered them to caves. We'd prepared for emergencies. When the Enclave soldiers came to collect, they found empty houses and parents who'd rather die than give up their young. They burned the meeting hall first. White phosphorus, burns underwater, burns through concrete, burns until there's nothing left but shadow. James and Patricia were inside, refused to tell them where their daughter was hiding. I can still hear the screams when the wind is right. The Enclave officer didn't even watch, just made notes on his datapad about acceptable casualties and maintaining operational security. We broke on the second day, You can only watch so much of your world burn before survival instinct overrides everything else. We gave them Timothy, Maya, and little Ben. Their parents volunteered them, if you can call it that. Sophie held Maya for the last time, whispering promises that Mommy would come find her, that this was just temporary. We all knew she was lying. The Wasteland teaches you to recognize last goodbyes. The Enclave kept their word, in their twisted way. They left us weapons, energy cells, and laser rifles, probably stolen from dead Brotherhood patrols. Medicine, too. Radex, Radaway, even some Medex for the worst injuries. They also left us a communication device, said they'd be checking in on our population every 6 months, looking for more anomalies. We became their breeding farm, their petri dish for studying human adaptation. That device is still here, in the water tower, still transmitting. I haven't destroyed it because what if the children are still alive? What if destroying it kills any chance of finding them? Hope is poison in the Wasteland, but it's also the only thing that keeps you from eating a bullet for breakfast. After the Enclave left, something broke in Bitter Springs. Not just buildings or walls, but something fundamental. Trust died that day. Families who'd given up their children couldn't look at those who'd hidden theirs successfully. Those whose kids escaped wondered when their turn would come. We stopped eating together, stopped sharing resources equally. The settlement became a collection of armed camps, each protecting their own. The fractures showed when the ferals came, a whole pack of them, 20 or 30, shambling out of the ruins of Henderson. Maybe they smelled the death, the phosphorus burns. Ferals are drawn to suffering like moths to flame. Our defensive positions, carefully planned and maintained, for years, fell apart because nobody trusted their neighbor to watch their back. I watched from the water tower as they broke through the eastern wall. The Hendersons were supposed to be defending that section, but they'd pulled back to protect their own shelter, leaving a gap. Ferals poured through like water through a broken dam. They don't just kill, you know, they feast while you're still alive. Radiation from their bites keeping you conscious longer than should be possible. Tom Henderson learned that the hard way, screaming for help that never came because everyone was protecting their own corners. We lost 12 people that night, not to the ferals. We killed those eventually. We lost them to each other. In the chaos, old grudges surfaced. Betty shot Marcus, claimed she thought he was a feral in the dark. But everyone knew Marcus had been hoarding antibiotics when Betty's son got sick. The Changs disappeared entirely, probably fled during the fighting, taking half the medical supplies with them. By dawn, Bitter Springs wasn't a settlement anymore. It was a grave waiting to be filled. The super mutants came next, because disaster never travels alone in the Wasteland. Not the dumb ones you usually see, all muscle and rage. These were first generation, or close to it. Still smart enough to use tactics, still human enough to be cruel. They didn't attack. They surrounded us and waited. Their leader called himself Marcus, ironically enough. 12 feet tall, skin like green leather. But his eyes were human, sad. He'd been a soldier before the FEV, he told us. Still remembered his daughter's name, even if he couldn't remember her face. Join us, he offered. The FEV is evolution. No more disease, no more radiation sickness, no more watching your children starve. He gestured at his warriors. We were weak like you, now we're strong. The Master was wrong about many things, but not about this. Humanity, as you know it, is already dead. The only choice is what comes next. Some actually considered it. When you've lost everything, becoming a monster doesn't seem so bad. At least monsters survive. But I'd seen what FEV really does. It doesn't just change your body. It hollows out your soul, replaces everything you were with something else wearing your memories like an ill-fitting coat. Sarah's nephew had been taken by super mutants years ago. We found him later, transformed, and he didn't recognize her. Just saw another human to convert or kill. She put him down herself and never spoke again until the day she died. We told Marcus no. He seemed genuinely disappointed. The offer stands, he said, Until you're all dead or converted, time means nothing to us now. They left, but stayed close enough that we could see their campfires at night, waiting. They're still out there, probably. Super mutants are patient when they want to be. The final blow came from within. Water started making people sick. Not radiation sick, but something else. Fever, hallucinations, then organ failure. Took us 3 days to figure out someone had poisoned the well. Never found out who. Could have been anyone by that point. Trust was so eroded that husbands suspected wives, parents suspected children. The paranoia was worse than the poison. We tried to drill a new well, but hit a pocket of gas that killed 2 people before we could seal it. Tried purifying river water, but our last purifier broke, and nobody remembered how to fix it. The Brotherhood scribe's knowledge couldn't help us with broken machinery and no parts. We were reduced to boiling rad water and hoping for the best. You can survive on irradiated water longer than you'd think. Your hair falls out, your teeth loosen, you age 5 years in 5 months, but you survive, if you can call it that. I started recording these tapes when I realized I was the last one trying to hold it together. Everyone else had given up, or given in. The Johnsons left for the NCR, taking their chances with 50 miles of wasteland rather than stay. The Perezes joined the raiders who'd been circling us like vultures. Better to be a predator than prey, they said. Others just stopped. Stopped eating, stopped fighting, stopped pretending tomorrow would be better than today. Martha was the last to leave besides me. Sweet Martha, who'd taught the children to read using pre-war books she'd saved. She came, to me, with a bag packed, heading east to find her sister in Legion territory. Even slavery is better than this, she said. At least slaves have value to someone. I gave her my last stim pack and watched her disappear into the morning haze. That was 6 days ago. Now it's just me and the ghosts. I stay because someone should witness the end. Someone should record what happened here, so the next group of fools who think they can build something knows what's waiting for them. The wasteland doesn't care about your hopes or dreams or the communities you build. It's patient and hungry and always wins in the end. I've got maybe another week of food, 2 if I stretch it. Water's running low and it tastes like metal and death. My rifle has 3 bullets left, 2 for anyone who tries to take what little I have, and 1 for, well, you know what the last bullet's for. That's the arithmetic of survival. Always save 1 for yourself. But before I go, I need you to understand something. We weren't special. We weren't particularly unlucky or stupid or weak. We were just people trying to live in a world that doesn't want us anymore. Every settlement you pass, every failed community, every cluster of empty houses, they all have stories like ours. The NCR builds on our bones. The Brotherhood scavenges our remains. The Enclave studies our mutations. Raiders feast on our failures. The wasteland is full of settlements like Bitter Springs, places where hope went to die, where families tried to grow food and raise children and pretend the bombs hadn't changed everything. We're the rule, not the exception. For every new Vegas shining in the desert, there are 100 Bitter Springs, 1,000. You'll try anyway, won't you? Whoever's listening to this. You'll think you're different, smarter, better prepared. You'll have some advantage we didn't. Better weapons, more people, a safer location. But the wasteland has time. It'll wait. It'll wear you down with 1,000 small cuts until you're begging for the killing blow. The sun's setting now. Funny how beautiful the wasteland can be when it's not trying to kill you. The radiation in the dust makes everything glow orange and gold, like the world's on fire all over again. Maybe it never stopped burning. Maybe we're all just living in the ashes, pretending we're not already dead. If you find children's toys in the ruins, leave them be. They're graves markers for kids who never got to grow up. If you find my bones, don't bury them. Let the wasteland have them. It's going to take them anyway. This is Marcus Chen, last survivor of Bitter Springs, signing off. Good luck, you'll need it.